AI is better than ever today. More online fitness coaches are using it in their content, and yet they are stuck at the same revenue level. And the reason for this, for most coaches, is that they use it to write content, to write posts, to take decisions. But that's the complete wrong way to use Claude. And I'm gonna show you in this YouTube video exactly how you can turn Claude into your best employee, how I use Claude in my online fitness coaching business a bit more uniquely than most other coaches did, to make sure I went from 10 to 15K per month to hit 30K months with more than $20,000 in profit on these months as well. So Claude was a huge part of this, saving me time, making better content, finding better stories, doing everything better, but you have to do it correctly. And I'm gonna walk through everything today, from what you have to do to make Claude give you better answers, to what apps you should connect to it, to the ways you can use it to just truly master using Claude in your content. So pay good attention and just take notes or implement while watching this. So the most coaches, they get generic AI slop like everyone else. You see all these shit posts on Instagram right now where you have these long text posts, or you have these scripts that are obviously just written with Claude with all these very dramatic wordings and stuff like that. And for sure, it can work in the short term, but you don't get to showcase your personality. And even though I did this a few times with my online coaching, I noticed that the language from Claude was fucking terrible. And I just didn't want to use that. But most of the time, I used Claude in the process of making very good content, just because it saved a ton of time, allowing me to spend more time on other tasks. But here is how I did it without getting the generic AI slop as well. The first thing I had to do was actually giving it the right context. This is about creating a project in your Claude. So I'm going to show you how this looks. Now here I have one project. So these are the project files. Let's do the content one. Here we have number one, start here. Then we have some formats, some proven formats that I know work, some examples of content I created before. We have my story. The story is the most important piece. You have to have your story, your whole story, your actual founder story. And then you have to have the business and ICP, information around who you help, how you help them, and what the business truly is about. These are the two most important. Then you can add other files as you go after that. For example, your pain point tree, if you have one, with all the different pain points of your ICP. I have a document with 473 different hooks. So I can have Claude help me find the best hook for that piece of content. I don't have Claude choose it, but I have Claude help me do it. So this is the first thing that you absolutely have to have in place. Because if you don't have this, every single time you use Claude, you have to re-explain. You're going to send Claude a message, you're going to say something, and it's going to be like, okay, but can you tell me more about this? But you've already told Claude 100 times, but over time it forgets. But when you start your conversation from inside the project, it's going to remember everything. So this is point number one. Then you can create different ones for sales, for content, whatever. But just start with one, start with your story and the business information. Now, when you have that in space, you are going to be able to use Claude more efficiently in the first place. So for your content project, you could also have guidelines, as in which formats you use, which fonts you use, with which rules. So if you create PDFs, or if you create carousels, it creates them correctly every time. All right, so you can DM me on Instagram for a 50 hooks document, so you could also add that to Claude. Now, the second step is connecting your apps. And the reason for this is very important. Claude can connect to each app. You go to Customize, you go to Connectors, and here you have Google Drive. This is very important to connect to, because in Google Drive, you're going to find what? You're going to have your tracking. Here I have my KPI tracking, so I just write in every single number. I could just literally write in absolutely everything. It doesn't have to be properly filled out, doesn't have to be nice. It doesn't have to be something a human has to look at, right? In objections, I can write down every single objection without structure. And when it's connected to Claude, I can just ask Claude, go into my tracking sheet and summarize the data, make it easier to actually consume for me. And that's what I do. It makes tracking so insanely easy. And even with Reels, I have this where I have the transcript of the Reels, I have the views, I have everything. This is from the start. And I can ask Claude, okay, look at all the transcripts, look at all the data, and let's find some patterns. Let's find the patterns of the content. Now, this is just one way to do it, and I'm going to show you an even more effective way, but you should have a tracking sheet, and you should have Claude connected. You're going to save so much time, and this lets you analyze. Claude can analyze, okay, which posts were posted when, what were your data at that time, how many sales, how many paid in fulls. If you get less paid in fulls, what does that tell you? Either the price is too high, the content has been shit, or you suck at sales. Mostly it is one of these two, and most of the time I found that it is that the content has been too bad. You have done too little bottom of funnel, too bad story sequence nurturing. You haven't nurtured correctly in your content, and you're taking in bad leads on your sales calls. That's usually what the thing is, and Claude can help you analyze that with showing, okay, this period we had this as our main theme in posting, and we had a lot less paid in fulls. Okay, then I know what I need to do to get more paid in fulls. I have to do more of this style of content, right? That's extremely important. Now, that's just the first thing. Secondly, you want to connect to Fathom. Fathom, this is going to be a game changer. If you're not doing this, it's insanely valuable. You go into Fathom. You you create your account, you go into your settings, and you just make sure that you have your Google Meets connected or whatever you use. Then you download the app to your computer. Now, when you enter a Google meeting, let's just do that right now. All right, it shows recorder is joining, and it's gonna say here in a second, there. Now I can let in the recorder. The whole call is getting recorded, and not only that, the whole call is transcribed. So I'm gonna show you this. Here's a call with my let's see, editor. And here you have the whole transcript. The whole transcript of the conversation. So now what I can do is go into Claude and I can ask for review the call I had with Aaron and figure out one content idea from what we spoke about. Boom! You send this. Claude is going to find you a good content idea, and this is not the most powerful part, because think about how much you can do with this. You have client calls all the time, at least like quarterly. You're going to have calls with your clients, right? You have group calls. You have sales calls. If every single sales call, group call, client call is recorded, you could always just go into Claude, have it pull the best ideas, and if you have a ton of examples of posts, I'm going to show you, for example, one post that I do. Let's see on Instagram here. Give me a second. Here. Would it all stop this time as well? I've been sick, extremely much has happened. Energy has been on the bottom. Busy to mother of two, okay? Now I write an anonymous testimonial from a call. And what I did here is very easy. I had 5 that I've done before. I sent it to Claude. I have it in the project, so I don't have to send it. And I told Claude, okay, look at the project files for this. Look at the call with this person, and let's make one for this exact call. Let's make a version of an anonymous testimonial. Leave out everything sensitive. And then we did that, and this allows me to have an anonymous testimonial from clients. People can read through, and it has given me so many clients. Like just doing this, it took me 5 minutes to create each post. 5 minutes. And it was created from the work I'm already doing. Like most coaches think they have to create content from the bottom up. You could literally just record what you're already doing and use that. You should always record calls, get ideas from your calls. And now you don't have to do that yourself. You have Claude to do it for you. That's why it makes it so easy. So here, one conversation, 5 weeks of content. This is a good content idea, for example. This is exactly what I said right now. We spoke about it. Coaches at 10 to 15K per month are burning out filming daily because they treat content as you have to do everything from the start. It's actually a bit funny that this was the answer of Claude, because that was what I just walked through. But it's crazy because that's so true. You could use calls and you could create months of content from conversations and calls you've had. You could even use parts of the auto-recorded. Fathom has recorded everything, so you could just use that as well. Now, that's just the second point. Now we have one more thing we're gonna do, connect Claude to, and that is Windsor AI. So Windsor AI, you just get into your account, you're gonna connect Instagram public, Instagram insights. Just connect that. It's very easy. What you can do now, Windsor can look at every single insight of your Instagram. So it knows the watch time, the views, the comments, it knows everything. And instead of you sitting on your phone, because you cannot even see average watch time on your computer, right? Instead of you sitting on your phone, and you have to go through every single post and write down notes and make sure, okay, everything is correct. Okay, here it's 6 seconds, here it's 20 seconds, here it's 40 seconds, 4 comments, 3 code words. You know, it takes very long, right? It doesn't have to be that way. You could literally just ask Claude. So again, into the project, into the chat, and I'm just gonna ask, look at my 3 latest posts and find the hook of all 3. So I'm just gonna test it like this. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention, we should always mention the tool. Windsor AI tool, boom. Okay, let's see. Do you struggle to keep clients for more than a year? Perfect. So the hooks are correct. The hooks are correct, and that's what we wanted to see. Now, Windsor makes it very easy to do this, and the thing is, now I have a brand new account, so it was more useful when I had this account. I had a ton of clients, I had my team that I was leading, I had so much to do, and I saved so much time just lowering the time I spent on tracking by around 3 to 4 hours per week, freeing up 3 to 4 hours that I could use for something else, even resting. I had my tracking analyzed by Claude. I had my meetings recorded, and I created so much content from the meetings. It's golden. And when you have your apps connected, this is what you do. You just start using them constantly. You just start recording every call. You just start turning it into content ideas constantly. You use Claude as a great employee. It knows your context. You have connectors, so you don't have to feed, copy, paste in information all the time, right? But I never recommend using Claude to write your content. You should always have the finishing touch. And the reason for this is that, first of all, Claude looks like Claude. Looks a bit shit. Second of all, it's not going to be in your voice. You can train it using MD files, like in your project. You can train it to sound more like you. But the best thing is always for you to make sure that the idea is correct and authentic for you. You speaking about something that helps your old self, your ICP, right? Your dream client. Something you can relate to, something that's interesting to speak about for you, just like this is for me. And then you write it, you rewrite it, you use whatever Claude gave you as like a draft, but you rewrite it in your words. And then if you get stuck, you can use Claude to help you continue, but you write it in your words. That's how you use Claude to make content quicker, better, and more impactful. So you actually get, for example, these anonymous testimonials or even testimonials and impromptu content from your Fathom recordings. So you get better content and get more output. So you actually earn more by using Claude, not only spend a ton of time using it. If you found this video valuable, make sure to give me a follow and a like. I'd appreciate that. I have my Instagram as well, right here, Vegard Scales. If you send me a message here with Claude, I'm gonna send you the whole walkthrough, this document right here. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice rest of your day.